देखो इन्हें ये है ओसर की बूंदें इधर चली मैं उधर चली.
We began the day with breakfast at Hotel Hofen. We did finally see the northern lights last night, so both of us are pretty amped up. But the day today is going to focus on glaciers. That giant frozen mountain in the background is actually Europe's largest glacier, known as Vatnajökull. And as we are making our way towards our first stop, we did luckily see some reindeer crossing the road, where we had to stop and let them pass. Before long, we reached Jökulsárlón Glacier Lagoon, and as the name indicates, it's a lagoon where pieces of the glacier are breaking off and floating into it. Now, even though this lagoon looks calm, it is strongly advised from entering it because the current underneath the lagoon is so strong that you'll be swept up almost immediately. And the entire lagoon has a hike around it, where each stop in the hike lets you get closer to the ice. But we did see an odd number of people just there to lick the ice, but who am I to judge? I myself was battling my own demons, where I had this urge to pick up pieces of the ice and let it fall, just so that I could see it shatter. And I was unable to fight the demons for long, and I eventually just had to give in. I did get mocked relentlessly by Hanan for doing this, but I've learned to ignore her and let my inner child come out. Happy marriage, everyone. After spending some time tossing the ice around and just taking in the glacier lagoon, we hit our next destination, which is Diamond Beach. Luckily, this spot was like right across the road, so it's probably pieces of the same glacier just washing up on this beach. And as you can guess, it is called Diamond Beach because the pieces of ice reflect the ice in such a way that it looks like small pieces of diamond. We spent some time admiring the view. The camera really does not do it justice. The ice is a lot more refractive and a lot more radiant than what is coming out. And you can spend quite a while here just looking at and taking in the sights. Hanan here couldn't resist her demons and gave in to the urge of collecting as many oddly shaped rocks as she could, kind of like a penguin, but I let her be as she let me be with the ice. We then decided to move forward towards our next stop. We decided to grab a quick coffee at Frost Restaurant, and right behind the restaurant was this giant hike. So even though it looks quite sunny, because of the glacier you see in the background, the wind is hitting it and it is absolutely icy cold. Our ears and hands were freezing despite having gloves, mufflers and caps. So we could only go for a quarter of the hike, before which we had to turn back. After some warm soup, which was absolutely essential after that icy hike, we reached our next destination, Skaftafell. Now Skaftafell is kind of like a base camp. Now we are going to go hiking on top of a glacier, and for that we need special gear and a guide to walk us through it. And Skaftafell has multiple such providers. So we made our way through to the main reception, trying to figure out where the one we booked is, which took some time to figure out. But once we did, we saw that the guide was not there and the entire office was locked. So we spent some time roaming around, taking in the sights, and we did see a few interesting birds who we annoyed for a bit and once again got ignored by the local wildlife. Eventually our guide showed up, walked us through the process, gave us a special gear, boots with spikes to make sure we don't slip, a helmet with a light on it, a harness, and this ice pick to make sure that we are able to balance ourselves. We made our way to the tour bus and reached one of the glaciers. So interesting fact, the movie Interstellar, the frozen planet that we go across, was actually shot on one of these glaciers where they just flipped the view so it seems like the sky and the ground is frozen. We didn't walk on the same glacier itself, but the one right next to it. And one encouraging thought our Icelandic tour guide told us was that right underneath the glacier is a volcano. And if the volcano erupts, there's going to be a flash flood as the entire glacier melts, and there's absolutely zero chance of survival. But luckily, the Icelandic government is aware of multiple volcanoes throughout Iceland, so they have good monitoring equipment. Chances of that happening are quite unlikely. As we climb the glacier, this mud gives way to the actual ice underneath. So everything you saw so far was actually one solid block of ice that's just covered with mud, which makes it look like a mountain. But as we climb higher, we see much more of the clearer ice. As we are walking up, the sun is setting and we are going into crevices within the glacier. And we have to be very careful not to fall in one of these crevices or drop our phones, because once something goes in, there's no getting it back. And as always, I'm just happy to be here. Sup? That's right. Yeah, so we enjoyed the view from on top of the glacier, and as the sun started to set, we decided to make our way back down towards the tour bus. It is pretty dark now, so we have to rely on our lights as we make our way down and make sure to really dig our heel in. I did pick up a piece of glacier while coming down because glacier ice is supposed to be great in whiskey and it takes longer to melt, but unfortunately it did melt by the time we made our way to our hotel. So this hotel was actually quite great, probably the favorite one I had so far. The rooms, as you can see, are huge, and we should be able to see northern lights today as well, but both of us were just absolutely pooped after the entire glacier trek, so I really do not know whether there were northern lights this night or not. But the rooms were great, the washrooms were big as well, and we were looking forward to a relaxing night.